Good evening, everyone. Today we are comparing two protest movements for gender justice in very different political and media systems: Woman Life Freedom in Iran and March 4th Justice in Australia. We use these two cases to look at how protest communication moves through hybrid media systems and how different power structures shape what it actually do. Our research question looks at how those two movements move through different political and media systems, and how those systems shape their impact on the public. Our main argument is that both movements use a mix of digital and traditional media, but they were working in very different conditions. In Iran, protest communication became a struggle to stay visible, to show what was happening, and to survive under repression. In Australia, protest communication had clear pathways into mainstream debate, wider media attention, and public and institutional response. So our comparison is not only about media platforms, it's really about how media system and political system shape what protest communication can and cannot do. We chose these two cases for a few clear reasons. First, both movements are about gender justice and accountability. Second, both became highly visible at national and international levels. Third, both use a mix of digital media and traditional media. And most importantly, they happen in very different political and media systems. That makes them useful to compare, because we are not just looking at two protests. We are looking at how the same broad issue can move through very different structures of power. This slide shows the structural context behind our comparison. Iran is an authoritarian and theocratic system with very low media freedom. The state has a strong control over the media, and censorship plays a major role. In that setting, social media often becomes a way to bypass restrictions to show evidence that the state media wouldn't show. Australia is very different. It is a liberal democracy with relatively high media freedom. Social media is still important, but it works more as a tool for organizing, amplifying, and shaping public discussion. Mainstream media and public broadcasters also remain important. So the key difference here is not just the type of media being used. The deeper difference is the structure of power behind the media system. We use three main theories in this presentation. First, Chadwick's hybrid media system helps us explain how communication moves across old and new media together rather than staying in one place. Second, framing and agenda setting help us ask how these protests were defined and how they became important public issues. And third, connective action helps explain how both movements use personal stories, digital networks, and online sharing to build participation. Together, these theories helps us look not only at how information moved, but also how it gained meaning, visibility, and political impact. Our first case is the Woman Life Freedom movement in Iran. This movement grew after the death of Mahsa Amini in 2022. The slogan itself became very powerful and moved quickly from Kurdish political culture into wider national and global protest language. People use mobile phone footage, Instagram, Telegram, and X to show what was happening on the ground. At the same time, diaspora media and international news organizations amplified that material and helped push it into global public debate. The state tried to frame protesters as a dangerous, foreign-backed, or a threat to national security. Protesters and activists framed the movement very differently. They presented it as a struggle for dignity, women's rights, freedom, and resistance to state violence. So in Iran, hybrid media was not just a tool for sharing information, it was also a tool for visibility, witness, and survival. Before I continue, I want to show a short video from the Women Life Freedom protest in Iran. This video uses Baraye by Shervin Hajipour, which became one of the most recognized songs of 2022 protest movements after the death of Mahsa Amini. Baraye means because of in Farsi. Hajipour said the lyrics were based on tweets from young Iranians explaining why they kept protesting. This mattered for our case because it shows that protest communication in Iran was not only political, it was also emotional, cultural, and collective. The video is a strong example of how hybrid media can carry protests through music, social media, and shared public feeling.
For dancing in the alleys and the streets, for the thrill and the fear of getting caught kissing, for my sister, my brother, and unity, for all the times we tried to change their minds and stale beliefs, for the loss of pride, for poverty, for the dream of just a normal life for you and me, for all the children who are starving for a loaf of bread, for the greed of politics and all the lies they spread, for all the mass polluted air we breathe, for all the litter in the streets and all the dying trees, for all the animals who suffer from elimination, for all the cats and dogs who love us without no conditions, for all the tears that seem to never end, for all the images that keep on turning in our heads, for a simple smile to last a little while, for the future generations fighting for their time, for empty promises of heaven in the afterlife, for all the...
Our second case is the March for Justice movement in Australia. March for Justice was founded by academic and social worker Janine Hendry, who sent a single tweet on 25th of February 2021 asking women to circle Parliament House in Canberra in silent protest. 3 weeks later, on 15th of March 2021, protests took place across 55 towns and cities throughout Australia, with organisers estimating 150,000 people in attendance. The immediate triggers were specific. Brittany Higgins' account of being raped in Parliament House, historical rape allegations against Attorney General Christian Porter, and activist Chantal Cantos's collection of testimonies from women about sexual assaults at schools. Like the Iranian case, this movement also used a mix of digital and traditional media. March for Justice is a clear example of Australia's hybrid media system at work. The movement began with a single tweet from founder Janine Hendry, triggering rapid organic sharing across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Organisers used each platform simultaneously, sharing march locations using Google Sheets, petition links, and shareable social media graphics, directing supporters to sign, share, attend, and wear black on the day. The movement was widely framed not just as one scandal, but as a broader structural problem involving women's safety, institutional failure, and political accountability. So in Australia, hybrid media helped turn personal testimony into a mainstream political issue. When we compare the two cases, we can see both similarity and differences. The similarities are clear. Both movements used hybrid media flows. Both depend upon visual evidence and personal testimony. And both challenge dominant narratives. But the differences are just as important. In Iran, communication had to operate under censorship, surveillance, fear and repression within a society where women's rights and freedoms are not protected. The movement was met with brutal repression by Iranian authorities, who killed hundreds of protesters and arrested thousands more. Activists downloaded thousands of protest videos to preserve them before the regime could erase them, with the archive eventually containing more than 1 million videos. That repression paradoxically amplified the movement internationally as footage of state violence spread across global platforms. Back in Australia, communication could move more easily into mainstream institutions and public debate without the same Iranian societal and government pressures and intrusions. The March for Justice movement demonstrates precisely how social media originates momentum and traditional media scales it. We want to finish with 3 discussion questions. First, does social media reduce power inequities in authoritarian and democratic systems in the same way? Second, is visibility by itself enough to create political change? And third, in a hybrid media system, who has more power over the narrative? Activists, journalists, platforms, or political elites?